Hello, it is Jack Gill, and welcome to Redmen Academy. Oh, James, it's a long time since I've said that. I'm joined as always by James McHale. Sorry about the lack of videos recently. Yeah, there's been a lot going on, but I'll bore you with all the detail, and we'll get straight into it, James, and we'll start with a certain signing, and it's obviously Marcelo Pitaluga, who has finally been announced as a Liverpool player. The 17-year-old goalkeeper has been announced at just the right time, eh, James?
Perfect time, and yeah, he looks like a really good keeper. And I was sort of wondering when was it going to be announced because we've known it's been in the pipeline now for about a month, 2 months. It's been sort of rumored, and it was all but agreed upon. So I'm really glad that he signed. He looks like a really good goalkeeper. I know we seem to say this about every young keeper that Liverpool sign almost every single year now, but he looks like a very, very, very good keeper, and he's got that experience already playing for the reserve team in Brazil at such a young age. And I'm looking forward to seeing how he can crack on.
Yeah, that's the thing as well, and I keep saying this about Marcelo Pitaluga. At Liverpool, we've been through a lot of issues over the last few years with goalkeepers, and as we say so many times, we've got an abundance of good young goalkeepers at this football club at the minute. It's about finding that person that when Alisson goes, someone's ready-made to step in, that we've got on the cheap and ready to go, because we spent a lot of money on Alisson Becker, and we did that to get a world-class keeper because they're
Yeah.
so important in the modern day. If a goalkeeper makes a mistake, as we've seen in the last few weeks with Adrian, it really affects the side, and anyone can make a mistake on the pitch and get away with it. But a goalkeeper, if they make a mistake, it's very, very rare they get away with it. And to sign someone like Pitaluga, I think everything surrounding him and this move suggests to me that he will become a bit of a star, and he will become a very good talent. As you say, there's signs there already. He's 17 years old, playing for a reserve side in Brazil, and it looks very good. Allison and his brother have recommended him, of course. So yeah, it's really, really exciting. James, a quick question, obviously, because we've been linked with other goalkeepers this week with Jack Butland and Gazaniga, Sergio Romero, after the whole Adrian situation. There's also been calls for Marcelo Pitaluga to start against Everton with everything going on. There's no chance of that, is there?
No, but it would be, it'd be pretty fun to see. I'd like to see how he'd do, but I think the safe bet would be Callagher. I think Adrian needs to be taken out of the firing line at the moment. I don't think, a bad performance against Everton would do him any favours at all. So maybe Callagher, not yet for Pitaluga. Give him a year or so.
Yeah, definitely. He did say that he'd train with the first team
Yeah.
and be with the unders for this first season. But for me, James, I think with Kelleher signing Petaluga, may see Kelleher go out on loan now. Um,
Potentially.
it's very interesting because that Butland rumour doesn't seem to be going away. I know James Pearce has said that he doesn't think we'll sign a keeper. The Echo have said that as well. But the rumour doesn't seem to be going away. And I don't know if it's because it's slow news over the international break and with everything so raw about Adrian's mistake in that game against Aston Villa. But, it's one of them situations. Now we've got a good young keeper on our hands, and people just want to see anyone that's not Adrian at the minute. But I'm excited to see Pitaluga play for our unders this year, and hopefully we see some videos of him training with the first team and see how good this young lad is. But yeah, it's a really, really exciting transfer for us from Fluminense. And to move on to current Liverpool players who have been impressing, and we have to start with a young Layton Stewart, James.
Yeah, he's kicked on from last year again. We were saying last season about how good he was looking and how he had all of the things needed to, push on and look to continue his career. And he's being managed very well. He's not being pushed straight into the under 23 side. He's playing good football for the under 18s, getting used to playing at a decent level. And then hopefully over the next couple of years or so, he'll be able to continue that because his trajectory is going up and up and up, and he's just getting better and better and better.
Yeah, he looks very scoused, doesn't he? And he looks like a very good footballer, and he's so impressive. He's got a bit of everything. Layton Stewart. He's not tall, but he's very, very good in the air, and you know he's got a good jump on him. He's an incredible finisher. He's so excited, and he's really exciting for our under-18s, and you know I don't think he'll be there much longer. We saw him get a few appearances in the under-23s last season. I think it's only a matter of time before he joins Balaghar in the under-23s. But he's just so important for the under-18s right now, and he's firing. We saw another hat-trick against Blackburn before the international break. He's really, really impressing, and you know this is a lad that I believe is going to go really far, James.
Yeah, definitely. He's got a little bit of everything. You know, he's got a little bit of pace. He's not too short, but he's good in the air, as you said. You know, similar to how Dominic Calvert-Lewin isn't the tallest of players, but he's very good in the air because he knows what he's doing. And then in front of goal as well, we can see how clinical he is. But he's not just that fox in the box sort of player. He's able to drop deep. He's able to link up play, and it'd be really interesting to see how he fits into that under 23 side and how the under 18s cope without him.
Really exciting and really looking like a star boy. And James, I know I've not put this on the agenda because I've done a video separately on Rhian Brewster and him signing for Sheffield United, which should be out by now when this goes up. But I have to get your thoughts on that. Obviously, Rhian Brewster has joined Sheffield United for 23.5 million. The reason I'm linking the two is obviously remember Brewster when he was in the unders at Liverpool, he was really impressed and he was scoring goals for fun. We've now seen him join Sheffield United. The fee is impressive. 23.5 million looks good right now for a lad that's not played a Premier League game yet. However, I was upset. You know, I didn't like to see him go because you can just tell he's going to be a real star boy and he just needs opportunities, and he's certainly going to get them at Sheffield United, James.
Yeah, and I think I was, if you see my Twitter, I was pretty clear that I was devastated to see him leave because I thought that he offered something that we didn't currently have in the team, and whether or not he was ready, he was something that we didn't currently have. We didn't have that clinical striker, and if we were going to move someone on, I was hoping that it would be, Divock Origi who would be moving on because he's done well for us, but it's time to bring in someone new, and it's unfortunate that Rhian Brewster didn't quite make the cut, but then, he's going somewhere where he's going to be playing football, he's going to be learning different kinds of tactics, playing in quite an unorthodox system at Sheffield, and so, you've got to wish him luck and hope that he can kick on, and, if he does well enough, hopefully we'll see him again in the future.
Yeah, definitely. He's a lad that I think won't get opportunities in abundance straight away for Sheffield United. I think he'll have to learn the style first. We saw when Woodburn went there on loan. Chris Wilder doesn't just hand out starts, you've got to earn it. But, we all know Brewster's talent, and we all saw it at Swansea last season. We've all seen it throughout the youth ranks at Liverpool and in pre-season for Liverpool this season. He's an incredible finisher and he's a brilliant player. He just didn't quite fit the system, and as you say, he may not have been ready for Liverpool yet. But I think I completely agree with you. I'd have preferred to see Divock Origi move on, but I can understand why Brewster's the man that's gone. I think in any other situation, in any other market, it would have almost certainly been a loan. But I think in a market post-coronavirus with so much uncertainty, cashing in on him with a buyback clause there and a sell-on fee as well was a sensible deal.
Quite a safe decision, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely safe and good deal for everyone involved, really. But it doesn't stop it from being an upsetting one. To move on to the under-23s and players impressing there, Jake Cain, he's proven that he's very, very good at free kicks and very good at football. We saw him in form for the under-18s last season, James. He's gone up permanently to the under-23s at the end of last season. He's in there permanently now under Barry Lutus, and he's playing very well and proving an important player for Barry.
Yeah, he's one of those players who was asked to step up. We weren't sure how he was going to handle because he was playing some very good football, but then he's moved in seamlessly and he's playing so well and he's controlling that midfield. And, that midfield has lost quite a few key players over the last couple of years, with, Pedro Chilavella being a notable player, but he's added that a little bit of maturity and he's not looked phased at all by it. He's striking the ball well, he's keeping play ticking over, and even when the team aren't performing the best, he's still doing very, very well.
Yeah, he is. He's looked really impressive at the start of the season, and he's the lad that's making it all click at the moment. So yeah, him and Liam Miller, who has really impressed me at the start of this season. He's been nominated for Player of the Month in Premier League 2. He's just started the season really, really well, James.
Yeah, definitely. And I didn't really, I'll admit, I did write him off at the start of the season. I was expecting him to be moved on permanently or at least on loan, but he's come in and he's looked hungry. And, he didn't have the best loan spell at Kilmarnock. I think even he would admit that didn't really have that impact that you would have been hoping for. But he's convinced this under 23 side and added, a little bit of experience and added goals as well, which is something that he hasn't always had in his locker. When he's been playing out wide, but he's looked very, very good, and I'm glad that he's kicking on.
Yeah, he's looking good off the left as well. He was the main danger in the FL Cup game against Tranmere, and I think he's really thrived in the absence of Joe Hardy, and it'll be interesting to see now Joe Hardy's starting to come back. I know he played in a friendly this week against Salford, where the under-23s won 5-0. It'll be interesting to see them playing together and linking up. So yeah, I'm really impressed with Liam Miller. I, like you, wrote him off at the start of the season. I thought he'd certainly move on loan, maybe even permanently. But he's staying around and he's looking very good, and he's really impressing. And like you say, it wasn't too impressive for him out on loan at Kilmarnock, but he's clearly learned one or two things there, and he's coming back and he's teaching our young lads some stuff in the under-23s.
Importantly as well, he's filling that void left by Curtis Jones too, who would have occupied that left-hand slot. And I think for Liam Miller, he's playing as more of an inside forward and not as an out-and-out winger where he was playing at Kilmarnock, and that seems to be playing to his strengths quite well.
Absolutely. I mentioned there the EFL Trophy. It's not been the greatest of starts for Liverpool, who are already pretty much out of that competition. It was 2 losses in 2 games, a heavy defeat against Wigan, which, the Young Reds took the lead. And then just completely fell apart. We won't go into that into that one too much. But then the second game against Tranmere, they really impressed me, James. They worked their, excuse my language, they worked their absolute bollocks off, and they were outstanding. But there was 2 poor calls for offside by the linesman, which the first one especially, I don't know how he didn't spot that. But yeah, it's a game, and unfortunately, the Young Reds have come away with nothing. And it was a bit heartbreaking for them because, as I say, they left everything on the pitch that game.
Yeah, I mean, we had this similar sort of conversation this time last year, and they weren't, disappointing. The results, but the performances were, on the whole, terrible, and they seem to have improved from this time last year when they had a similar set of results. And it's a good experience for them. Whether or not they progress in the tournament, I'm not too bothered about it really. It's just a few extra games for them, but they're playing against fully grown men most of the time, apart from against Wigan, who are playing quite a lot of their young lads too. And it'll be interesting to see how they perform in their next match.
Yeah, absolutely. James Vaughan coming off the bench to score a brace in the game against Tranmere, and Jay Spearing, obviously a friend of Redman TV, came off the bench to play against us as well. Obviously came through our academy, so it was nice to see Jay get a game there. But yeah, another bit of news. The Guardian have obviously done the brightest young talent thing that they do every single year, and they've highlighted James Balaghar. Let me start that one again. Let me note down the time. 13 minutes.
Balaghar.
Balaghar, I was going to call him. Bala. 13 minutes learned. Shit. Can you see the Skype call now?
What?
How many minutes have we been going for?
How long? We're on 18 minutes now. I'm not sure how long it's been recording for though.
14. I'll just Balaghar. What is it?
Balaghar.
Balaghar. That's what it is. Right then, James. Moving on to James Balaghar. That's the one. We've taken about 20 takes to make sure that we get that correct for here. He's been touted as the Guardian's brightest young talent at Liverpool right now. It's a series that they do every single year, and this year it's been Balaghar who has been nominated. What do you make of this, James?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one because everything around him seems to indicate that he's going to be a very top player. And what we've seen of him, he seems, very talented, but he's sort of an unknown quantity for me. I'm not sure where he's best playing or what he's fully capable of, but he's a very exciting young talent, and it fully makes sense that he was named by The Guardian as, the brightest young talent at Liverpool right now, obviously excluding the notable players who've already broke into the first team.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have said Layton Stewart, but I can understand why. It's Balaghar, as you say. We haven't got to see it yet, but he's got the talent. We got him, of course, from Manchester City, and he's a lad that's got bags of talent. And I think once he starts to showcase that at Liverpool, he could really go very far. This young lad. So yeah, fair play. As I say, I'm shocked that it's not Layton Stewart, but it's not a bad pick from the Guardian. To move on to Reese Williams, James. He's a lad that we have to talk about. I was very surprised to see him in the team sheet for the Carabao Cup game against Lincoln. I have to say that I've not been impressed with Rhys Williams when I've watched him play before that point. Yeah. He goes on loan to Kidderminster last season. You can see he's improved a lot. And, it's one that a lot of Liverpool fans wouldn't have known the name of until they watched him against Lincoln and now Arsenal. But now he's definitely moved himself up Klopp's pecking order.
Yeah, definitely. And I wasn't too sure how he'd fit into sort of the Liverpool setup this season. Obviously came back from that loan after only playing under 18s football, and I think we were both expecting him to go straight into the 23s. Having done that necessary bulking up and had some space freed up for him. I wasn't really expecting anything to come from him, at least in the next year or so, because he just didn't physically look there last time we saw him, which was 12 months ago. And he went into this Carabao Cup team and he looked like an established player, and nothing seemed to faze him. And obviously he's not all there yet. He's not fully developed as a player, or probably as a person as well. But I like the way he plays, and I like that confidence that he has, that he never seems to be fazed by anything, and he was looking to give it a go.
Yeah, absolutely. From what I'm aware of with Reese Williams before the game, and seeing him in the Carabao Cup, I think one particular instance against Lincoln showed this. Defensively, he can be quite fragile at times, but he's commanding. He's very confident. He doesn't look the greatest physically, but he's got a bit about him. He's physical. He knows his stuff. He's very good in duels and aerial duels. But yeah, it was obviously that one moment against Lincoln where he switched off and ends up slide tackling midair. But besides that, in both games, I thought he was very impressive, and especially against Arsenal, I think he was one of the best players on the pitch in a Liverpool shirt that day.
Yeah.
So, I've seen comparisons in styles to Van Dijk, which I think are wide of the mark. Yeah. But, I think we spoke about Billy Koumetio all summer and what may happen next for him being closer to the first team now. And an injury came at the wrong time for him. We all expected him to be a starter in these Carabao Cup games this season. But obviously he gets injured. It's Rhys Williams, and Rhys Williams took the opportunity with both hands, James.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously it comes down to talent on whether you make it as a player, but also luck is involved. And I think Rhys Williams was quite fortunate that Koumetio had that injury when he did, because I think we were all expecting Koumetio to be, the shoe-in player to go to in these Carabao Cup fixtures. But, fortunately for Rhys, he was able to make, these two appearances and, make a very good name for himself. And I think he's definitely gone up in the estimations of a lot of fans, especially, myself.
Yeah, absolutely, and been rewarded by Adi Boothroyd with an England in the 21 call-up and debut this week, of course, as well as Curtis Jones, who has also impressed me this season. James, he's continuing to grow. He's really establishing himself as a first-team player now, especially in the Carabao Cup game against Lincoln, where he came away with a brace. And again, against Arsenal, I thought he really impressed that day as well. He produces a Rabona cross at one point. He's just playing with so much confidence right now, which is so good to see.
Yeah, I know. In the past as well, when we brought on a young player from the bench, I was sort of anxious as whether that would mean that our level would drop or something. But when I see Curtis Jones coming on, I'm genuinely excited to see how he can progress us further. And you don't typically see that when you're bringing a young player into that first team, gradually bringing them in. you don't tend to get excited on thinking how are they going to make us better. But if Curtis Jones coming on, your first thought is, okay, so we're going to attack more now. And he has that confidence that you have absolutely no doubt that Liverpool's attack and play will improve because he will continue to drive the ball forward and create goal scoring opportunities.
Yeah, he's a really really exciting player, and I've been impressed with him again this season. And it was about this season was all about establishing himself as more
Yeah.
of a first team footballer. He did what he did last year. He'd made himself. He'd progressed to the first team. He was too good for the under 23s now, ready to be a first team player at Liverpool.
Yeah.
Klopp gave him confidence by saying that he was going to fill the void left by Adam Lallana, and he's really playing with the confidence that he's obviously got from that decision, and I've been really impressed by him so far and the minutes he's got so far this season, and yeah, I think he's a player that I won't be shocked to see starting in Premier League games over busy periods. I think Klopp has a lot of faith in Curtis Jones, and I don't think it'll be too big a task for him either. I think he looks really, really impressive. Moving on to some non-Liverpool news now, and Eduardo Camavinga. We have to start with this lad. He was impressive last season for Rennes. And he scores on his first start for France with an incredible finish, James.
Yeah, I mean, he's an absolutely brilliant player, and he's been on the radar for a little while now due to him breaking obviously through at such a young age, and he's so complete already. And I think he's only 17 years old, or he's turned 18 now, and it's only a matter of time until he gets that big money move to a top European team. Wouldn't be surprised if it was, Real Madrid where he went to, because he's so good, and I think he'd improve a majority of the top teams in Europe already, and he's someone who's obviously got about 15 years at the top left in him.
Absolutely, he looks so good, and just show with gets his first start for France, and he just produces an absolutely lovely finish, and he's not out of his depth in any place. He obviously benched Paul Pogba that game, and he's at the minute on form. Pogba's had a poor start to the season, and Camavinga absolutely deserves it right now. And as you say, it's only a matter of time before he gets that move. I was slightly shocked it wasn't this year.
Yeah.
I thought this summer it sort of had PSG written all over it, and see what happens there. But like you say, I wouldn't be surprised now he stayed there for an extra year. If after he's got Real Madrid and Barcelona with their eyes on him, we've seen the state Barcelona in a minute. They've let a lot of their players go. It wouldn't surprise me if they look to Camavinga and younger players now to sort of find a new set of talent at Barcelona. Ansu Fati, of course, impressing there at the minute for them. Really seems to be Ronald Koeman's main man at the moment, besides Lionel Messi, the obvious one, of course. But yeah, it'll be interesting to keep our eyes on Camavinga. But from one central midfielder, young central midfielder, to another, Jude Bellingham at Dortmund. He started really, really well there, James, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I was sort of anxious to see whether he would immediately be thrown into the first team, but he doesn't look out of his depth at all, and he's transitioned to German football from the Championship seamlessly, and he's showing what he can do. And I think there are a lot of people out there, who did, have doubts about him, whether he was worth the massive fee after only, not many games really at senior level. But he's a special talent, and where he ends up in the future is completely up to him, because he has all of the ability to go straight to the top.
Yeah, now it's obvious why Birmingham retired his shirt, because he looks like an absolute baller at Dortmund. But no, he's really impressed me. I saw a compilation the other day of his most recent game for Dortmund, where he absolutely bossed it. From midfield, he really does remind me of a young Steven Gerrard in the way he plays, the style he plays. Which if you haven't yet watched our interview with Emily Drakeley from Birmingham Fan TV, she gives us some good information about Jude Bellingham, and does say that he plays in a similar way to Gerrard. And since he's gone to Dortmund, you really can see it. So I think he's a player that will go very far. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up in the European Championships team for England, which I know is a bold claim right now, with him yet to get a call up. But I think there's options for Gareth Southgate in midfield because it's not the strongest England's midfield right now. We've seen Calvin Phillips get called up before he had a Premier League game in the first set of international fixtures. It really wouldn't surprise me if we see Jude Bellingham in that England team very, very soon. I think he's got a bit of everything. I think he looks outstanding. I think it's only a matter of time. And I think he's at the perfect place in Borussia Dortmund. They bring through so many young talents. And another young talent that we've got to talk about now is Erling Haaland, James. A Norwegian lad who obviously broke on the scene last season, signed for Dortmund, impressed there. People were wondering if it was going to be a one-off. He looks like he's made in a lab, and he's still playing like he's been made in a lab because he just looks outstanding, James.
He's relentless. There's nothing you can do to defend against him because if you push him out wide, he'll be creative. If you try and surround him, he'll find his way through. If you drop off deep, he'll use that space and absolutely exploit it. There's no way you can defend against someone like him the same way you can't defend against someone like Robert Lewandowski because they're so good at what they do. They make the situations work for them, and if they can't score, they'll bring another teammate into play. And it's such an exciting time for young players coming through, especially at Borussia Dortmund, because they have the perfect environment, as he said before, and these players, this current crop of players at Dortmund are going to go straight to the top.
It's a bit sad that we can't see that young Norwegian team, in the Euros. They were knocked out the other day. But yeah, I think we're going to see a lot from that young Norway side over years to come because they've got some outstanding talents. Martin Odegaard as well, of course, another one of them. But yeah, he just looks brilliant. He got his first hat trick for Norway the other day. He's impressed again at the start of the season for Dortmund. His running style is very interesting, but it works. He's a born finisher, natural goal scorer, and he's a Leeds fan. And there's that whole story with him, whispering in the Republic of Ireland player. I forget. I think it was Dallas's ear. I can't remember what he said, but it's just something regarding Leeds now. But yeah, it's dead interesting. I wonder if he'll end up at Leeds in the future. Probably not, but it is interesting with all the links to Manchester United because I doubt he'll want to go there, play under Solskjaer and whatnot. But he'll have so many offers next summer, James. He's cool.
We'll be surprised if we were in for him as well. We'll be looking for someone to as our frontliner agent, we'll be looking to bring in that next big player and for the reported release clause that he has that will come into action either next summer or the year after. I think would definitely be interested. We will be scouting him. Not that there's anything that we don't know about him already. I think he will end up at a top team as soon as next summer.
He'll have the pick of the bunch as well with the reported release clause because every team in Europe will be looking at him and with their eyes wide open because he does look like an outstanding talent. Manchester United just missed out on him before and you think they'll miss out on him again because you expect Bayern, Real Madrid, Barcelona, Liverpool, City, who will be losing Aguero soon, all to come in and look at Haaland as well. Probably PSG too. So it's going to be very interesting to see where he ends up next. What will happen with Jadon Sancho next summer as well? You expect Dortmund to get raided a tiny bit, but it's not like they've got a perfect new crop of youngsters to come through because they absolutely will do because it's Borussia Dortmund. But yeah. Yeah, he's just a bit of a baller, isn't he? Really, Erling Haaland.
There's nothing else.
No, not at all. Tariq Lamptey, another baller. I wonder who called that a while back. Not me.
No. I think I'm going to let this go. Were you ever?
No, he's a lad that is really impressing at the moment. It's easy to see why, in that right back position, playing at a team that's perfect for him. A team that likes to play football, a team where he can be the star, and he's just exhilarating. His pace, is just fantastic. I compare him to Alphonso Davies in the fact that when he's able to make a mistake, he's so fast that it's so easy for him to make a recovery run. He absolutely melts players. He's making players that have played in the Premier League for a very, very long time look poor, James.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing with confidence, isn't he? He's playing to his strengths in a system that clearly puts a lot of value on him, and he's playing with absolute freedom. He's not scared to go forward because in case he gets caught out because he has that athleticism to track back, to recover the ball. But then going forward, he has a brilliant passing range. He has the ability to go outside, cross the ball, or even drop inside a little bit and look to link up play.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Tarek Lamptey has been outstanding this season, and I always said that it wouldn't be long before he gets a big move. He's been linked with Bayern Munich, and I honestly think one full season at Brighton, and he'll be off because there'll be so many clubs after him. And it's a scary thought that Bayern Munich may have Alphonso Davies off the left and Tarek Lamptey off the right. They're just absolutely set for the next 15, 20 years if that's to happen. But yeah, I think Tarek Lamptey is going to be a lad that we're talking about a lot for this season, James. And you absolutely love to see it, don't you? But anyway, on that note, we'll leave it for today. Thank you for joining me as always, James. It's nice to be back making these videos. And we've got, as I say, we've got the Rhian Brewster video coming. It should be out by the time this goes out. We'll do one looking into Eduardo Camavinga in a bit more detail, maybe another one on Jude Bellingham. We've got loads and loads of content coming up, so make sure, if you haven't already, click that subscribe button and the bell if you want to let be known when we post and have all the latest notifications when a video goes up. And remember to like this video and comment if you want, telling us how much you love or hate me and James. So thank you very much for watching, and we will see you again soon. Ta-ra.